everybody, and welcome to this version of, well, I call it a truth worth living, but it's the athletic version of it. And here today, I have with me a very special brother in my life that God has allowed us to connect with. And it's so funny how God connects us because when we're not connected, we don't know that we're supposed to be connected. So, but I thank God for my brother. And this is Wade Hutchins, the owner, operator, founder of 289 Sports Performance. And it's really a blessing in my life because I get to work with him on a weekly basis, helping athletes in the Collin County area to achieve their goals. And Wade's with me today, and we're going to talk a little bit athletics. We've already been talking Bible for about
No.
yeah, half an hour. We're supposed to be recording, but we've been talking the whole time. But it's really a good thing, and thank God that we have somebody to talk to about things that are really important in your life. So, with that being said, we're going to just talk about a few things here. We're going to talk about 289 Sports. We're going to talk about how um, you came to start this company and this gym. And why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you come from, and
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. Yeah. And full disclosure, once we get out of the basics, this thing could go anywhere. So like the hardest thing would be to name this episode or just rants and ramblings of two dudes. But 289 Sports Performance is we're here in Salina, Texas, but like the origins are Nebraska based. I'm from Nebraska. We as a teacher and a football coach for most of my life, professional life, I kind of started to see a need and a passion for athletic performance, and then it started to take over my lifelong love and borderline idolatry for the sport of football. And just really never cared about anything else.
Yeah.
My parents would testify to, there's a reason why I didn't learn to probably, change my oil and change my tires and stuff when I had the opportunity at home, because I was like, if it didn't involve that funny shaped, football, I didn't really care. So
Yeah.
I would pass on other opportunities
Yes,
to
sir.
metaphorically, literally go past that thing. So just kind of grew up in that world. And as a coach, I started to see a lot of need for just a better option for athletes in their training, their training setting, I think. Um, so in and through that, just kind of started in our basement and in our house, which for Texas people, that's it's an underground level of your house where you can actually live and not have your foundation crumble. Have living rooms and bedrooms and things like that. But we trained in our basement. I remember I had to sell a pool table that came with the house that we bought so I could have room to run one, 15 foot of sled on the floor. And we had one squat rack and one set of dumbbells and one everything. And my daughter, who's now a senior, she was we just started with some of her little softball teammates, and we have there's still some cool, Instagram or Facebook pictures of them. They're 8, 9 years old and just doing stuff in my basement, right? And then kind of felt more called to that, and I got connected with a friend that had a boot camp gym, and he kind of gave me a corner of that gym to start building some clientele. And truth be told, I kind of looked around one day and I thought, like, they've got their thing going on, but everybody in here I've kind of brought in, to this.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of way that's the way business goes. You jump in and you don't really understand the
Yeah.
the nuances, and I think sometimes there's an um maybe some arrogance, but there's also just a lack of clarity of what somebody is doing to build their business.
Exactly.
And when somebody new walks in, they don't necessarily have the context and the clarity of what took to build that. And that's where I've been guilty of before is, walking in and swinging a big stick. And then, you know, like at the end of the day, I kind of just took my ball and decided to go home, and start my own thing. So we left there and we sold our house just to go rent a property um, there in Lincoln, in Nebraska, and we turned an old cruddy pole barn into a gym, and we did a lot a lot of manual labor and trying to make that thing functional. And I think the Lord was faithful. He showed up and gave
Yeah.
us enough athletes to where I was eventually left teaching and went into that full time.
Mhm.
And it was really cold in the winter and it was really hot in the summer, and no insulation. We're talking just metal and wood frames. So I hung painter's plastic on every square inch of that place just to try to hold
Mm.
some heat in, and the hand stapler up on a ladder, and just hours and hours of stapling to every stud.
Mm.
And it was a labor of love, certainly. But, kids showed up, and still think very fondly of those people that gave us a chance and helped us to get started. Um, from just grassroots.
Yeah.
I always say I didn't come from money. I didn't come from poverty either.
Yeah. Yeah.
I grew up having everything I needed and a
Mm.
couple things I wanted,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
nothing. We didn't lack in that standpoint. So we kind of just got that going, and I just looked at the market, and at that point I was getting some job offers in Texas to coach football with a college teammate of mine,
Mhm.
and he just kept saying no because I was building a program of my own, as a head coach for the first time, and so I was excited about that. And then that year where we got the gym really going, and I kind of resigned, from teaching. It's like, but Texas keeps calling,
Mm.
but not for football for once,
Yeah.
and I think that was there's a lot of maturity that I need to learn in that, because I chased that dream of being head coach, and we moved our family back and forth a bunch of places, and places that we shouldn't have went because the evidence was we didn't fit there,
Yeah.
but I was bound and determined to do that at whatever cost. And so
Mhm.
lessons learned there along the way for sure. So really we got out of teaching, and then I have some connections down here in the area, some buddies, and we were in the same kind of training philosophy group. And buddy of mine thought he had worked for me, and was kind of moving his CrossFit gym into more of a gym that I trained how we train.
Mhm.
And so we kind of thought, like, this is the scariest time. It makes the least amount of sense. But my wife kind of felt like, okay, well, I think we're supposed to go this time. And she was very resistant, and rightly so, to keep chasing football. And so, we took a chance, and decided we were going to move, and came down here. And my buddy, and there's no hard feelings, but he ended up not having to work for me,
Yeah.
because when he changed his model, he lost a lot of clients. And
Mm.
so he didn't have the capacity to pay me.
Yeah.
I mean, he wrote a very false 100% manufactured document saying what he was paying me, so our landlord would accept our income to get into our rental house down here. It was complete fabrication. I never worked a minute, not a minute, for this guy, and he said he was paying me this much a year,
Mhm.
salary, whatever, so we
Mhm.
could get approved. And at that time, we didn't close things down in Nebraska. We found a different location, and my old kind of right hand man Zach kept things going in Nebraska for
Mhm.
about 6 months or so. And we I brought one of everything, almost like I was back in the basement, into my garage.
Yeah.
I had one squat rack and one of these and one of those, and
Mhm.
just started putting the word out there at a network group here in town. And I think I had like 8 people in my garage, and we
Mm.
were scraping pennies together. I wasn't making anything back home. It was
Yeah.
just paying for the space back home. So it's not like I was getting a salary from the gym back home. It was enough to pay Zach and keep the lights on. So
Yeah.
we uh we had this point where I was either going to be, this area's best garage gym, and niche that way, where okay, I'm going to get 10 clients. They're going to pay me a lot of money a month for private training
Yeah.
to go that way, or we have to play this game where we got to go brick and mortar, and
Yeah.
we got to find a space. And we had no business looking for space because there was no money to support that.
Yeah.
Got a little help from a friend of mine get us in the door, and we found a retail space in town, and we turned what was a mortgage company into a gym, and we ran sprints in the back alley, and we put equipment where we could and try not to make the neighbors too mad. And God showed up. That's really the story of it.
Mhm.
We've been through so many up and downs. We've never made it by the world standards in
Yeah.
this industry, but um we're still here,
Yeah.
which is a testament from 8 athletes in the garage to we've served well probably upwards of 300 athletes,
Mm-hmm.
at this point in not quite 4 years. We
Yeah.
stay steady about 100 active
Mm-hmm.
now, and we were able to get into a new space a year ago and triple our space, which was a blessing, obviously, to grow out of the lease
Yeah.
before you were done. But if you know anything about where we live
Yeah.
and needing to look a certain way to um, a loving and well-meaning but uneducated populace that doesn't understand the difference in professionally what we do compared to some of the other places, it's
Yeah.
really hard to stand out if you don't at least look like you're serious about it.
Exactly.
So I think that's the blessing and the curse. Like there's the income, family income here to be successful in this industry where I don't think back home, I don't think I know back home we would have never had the clientele that we even have
Yeah.
now because the mindset's a little different and a little bit more conservative. You're looked at as that, well, if we can swing it, we'll add this thing. Where
Yeah.
down here, it's more of a like, okay, we want to get our young people in here
Mm-hmm.
and get them trained up because sports is serious back home, but in Texas is Texas. It's one of
Yeah.
those first 3 to 4 states people rip off the cuff as knowing they're kind of the meccas of athletic performance. Florida, Georgia, California, those kind of places are in that mix too. But like, that's kind of where we're at. And, we kind of find ourselves kind of, I think, with things we've talked about a million times, another crossroads of like, we're kind of out of space again, not from a quantity standpoint. We could
Yeah.
certainly have more athletes in our facility, but to do the things that I feel like we want to do on a bigger scale, we're looking around,
Yeah.
for those places.
Yeah.
So, full circle, it's like it's really just a story of starting over and reinventing yourself in a different market, in a different place in this country, but really moving towards reinventing yourself on what is our actual mission and what is our actual purpose here,
Yeah.
and things that we talked about before we hit record here is like there's a need for what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's a need for a higher quality
Yeah, of course.
option for people,
Of course.
and we see that in our school systems. We see that in how our young people are being brought up in sports and overdoing this and not enough of
Yeah.
this. And so philosophically, kind of like that's the current battle. The world's a mess around us, but we're still called to be doing, I think, the things that we've been gifted and and
Mm-hmm.
and talented, and quite frankly, the things we feel like we do better than most. And then how do we serve that? How do we make that happen? And how did you put it? Like we've got we've got to find the people that believe in us because we have the ability
Yeah.
and the vision, and we need those investor people to see that because you and I both agree there's a huge need for just a better product. And it doesn't have to be insulting
Yeah.
because there's great people doing great things, working their tail off, but they're also very hamstrung by a system that is preventing them from really being free to utilize their talents and their
Yeah.
gifts and their abilities. And then there's just a lot of people who are stuck in this is the way we've always done it, and we've had some version of success, and
Yeah.
in spite of our methodology. And I think there's a deep calling and a deep passion to be that thing that stands out, kind of that beacon where I want to get to the point where you have to have something intellectually wrong with you to not choose what we
Mm-hmm.
provide.
Yeah.
You have to be really blind or really ignorant or just something,
Yeah.
something that's not quite there to not see what the
You
differences
know,
are, right?
yeah, I think for a lot of people too, I think one of the biggest problems is that when you're looking at people who train or trainers, um, you have to be able to look at not just um, the physically gifted athletes whom they bring in, do what they do, and they go out and do great things.
Yeah.
What I actually look for I actually look for the athlete that really didn't nobody saw them coming
Yeah.
being developed. And I think development is the biggest problem that I see in the training, athletic coaching world now is that we got too many people getting credit for people who are already there and they just maybe enhanced a little bit,
Right.
as opposed to those who took someone who didn't really show a lot of promise,
Mm.
but then all of a sudden they're there with the people who we thought was just physically gifted and I see this a lot in the collegiate ranks
Mhm.
is that we see these schools where the coaches are get all of these accolades because they got these national champions, particularly in track and field, because that's just my
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
And you see that and you think, oh, this is the best coach.
Right.
They may not be the best coach. They just had enough money to pull in the best athletes.
Right.
So, and I think what you're saying is um, that it can be difficult, especially when you have something that you know is proven that it works, because you put so much heart into it. Sometimes it's hard to fiscally
Mhm.
manage it because you're trying to make sure that it's right, and it's just looking for the right people to connect with to see the vision of it. Not only see the vision, but see the work and the plan that goes with it to make that vision now something a reality. And to me, that's what I see as a big roadblock in the fiscal side of it is that
Mhm.
most of and I'm be honest, most of us who do it the right way may not have the fiscal backing that we need.
I think it goes back to what you said as development, because development takes time and intentionality. It takes
Hmm.
an interpersonal experience
Hmm.
where, you know, that's generally not going to be good in that fiscal category
That's right.
because that means your groups need to be smaller.
Yep.
That means you can't take on, this is one of my problems with some other places is they want to take on 20, 30 kids at a time.
Yeah.
And you can't really preach development on the level we're talking about
Yeah.
in that context, right? In that setting.
You can only train.
You can only you can drill watch is what I
Yeah.
call it, right?
Yeah.
You can supervise workouts,
Yeah.
and it doesn't mean you're a bad person or even that you don't know what you're doing.
Yep.
The model's not conducive to the intricacies and the nuances of, you get even down to the science of sport,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
And I think that's still that's a battle for me. I think our product is really, really good, but I also know it's not what it can be,
Yeah.
and we're only constrained by finances and staffing, and
Yeah.
because those go hand in hand, right?
Yeah. Most
You
definitely.
know, great people don't work for free, or they don't, um, I think I lost my last guy because I could give him a job, not a career,
Yeah.
and there's no ill will there at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Of
just a
course.
matter of fact. But at some point, and I think it speaks to, you got to get the right people that not necessarily see my vision, but we share a same philosophical vision on,
Hmm.
hey, we're willing to do the work, the less gratifying work to really bring this to fruition. But I think, it's one crossroads after another. And now the
Exactly.
crossroads is like, well, Wade wants a big, huge space that looks fancy and has all the bells and whistles. And that's not untrue, but it's to be able to facilitate what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to,
It ain't just bells and
the
whistles.
color of the paint,
Yeah.
and there is some differences in quality of equipment and things I would like to have that I don't have right now, and all those little nuances. But I think it comes down really to, how do you combine that vision with the right
Hmm.
people on the bus to get to where you have the freedom to be the professional that you are, the way you want to be.
Hmm.
Likewise for me, where it's all really that development, right? Where, an athlete that came in for an hour session and did, you know, speed work with you came to me for strength work.
Hmm.
you'd be hard pressed to find a better combination
That's right.
for someone to work with.
Yeah.
Definitely in this area,
Yeah.
I know who's here. I know who's good
Yeah.
and who's doing stuff. And I'll go back to like I've been guilty of being probably overly critical about some places or schools or whatever, but
Yeah.
I also feel like I have a little bit of a ground to stand on because I lived in that world.
Exactly.
I've been
Yeah.
in the high school weight rooms. I've been a head varsity football coach. I've been in charge of 40 kids in one space. I'm not immune or ignorant to the realities of
Yeah.
that situation. I am completely against a lack of qualification that I see, and a lack of
Mhm.
education, a lack of knowledge, and a lack of awareness of, well, just because we win on the scoreboard means we're doing things
Yeah. Yeah.
in a good way or an
Yeah.
appropriate way or a safe way
Yeah.
or even because it what we do as a profession, and it does take a lot of work and it does take a lot of knowledge. And I have schooling and degrees and master's degrees and all this other stuff, but none of that really matters if you can't translate it,
Mhm.
you know. But most people don't even get to that point where they even
Mhm.
are willing to put in the work on biomechanics or things like
Yes.
that. And parents don't have to care about that, and athletes don't even have to care about
Yeah.
that because they want the results.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's fine. That's what they signed up for.
Yeah.
But I think finding a way where we have the freedom to go from great to elite is where we're at now
Mhm.
because the elite capability is there. The environment, present environment, I think is stuck on that next tier down.
Yeah.
And that comes back to, like you said earlier, putting it out there, getting people that because there's a need for it.
Yeah.
And I think people don't know how to express that outside of this
Mhm.
industry that that's really what they're looking for.
Mhm.
But they're caught up in the noise of
Mhm.
this trainer or that trainer or this place and that
Yeah.
place or that, trendy
Yeah.
Instagram exercise that's going to
Mhm.
fix it all. Right.
Yeah.
And my biggest probably shortcoming is a lack of marketing and education. I think
Mhm.
that's the reason why we're sitting here right now is to try to just get a message out that, oh, that's what they're really about.
Yeah.
And go on with your day-to-day jobs, but when you send an athlete to us, understanding, I guess, what they're getting versus what you
Yeah.
could be doing and why there might be a need for I hate the phrase extra work because that's really against my philosophy of
Yeah.
training is doing more than you need to do, but different work. Well,
Mhm.
my kid's already working out at school and they're already sore and tired. I'm like, I yeah, I realize that. I know that. Um, we're gonna work on the things that you're not working on, you're not addressing,
Mhm.
which is a big emphasis for us is going after the weak links in
Yeah.
athletes and going after the things that are not commonly trained because there's not time to train that in a high
That's
school
right.
weight room setting, and there's not always there's a very low percentage that are doing it well in that setting because they
Yeah.
are professionals in that setting.
Mhm.
Most people have been giving a role either by choice or not by choice that you're in charge of this.
Yeah.
Figure it out, and that's the reality of the world. And there's a lot of coaches if they're not angry with me for saying that out loud, they're shaking their heads in agreement. They're like, I know we need help. We wish we knew more. We can't. There's
Mhm.
no bandwidth for us to go
Yeah.
pursue a master's degree in exercise science
Yeah.
or even attend clinics, right? Because they're just
Mhm.
chasing their tail. They're trying to coach their teams. They're trying to do the best they can for the most part. And, you know, school districts in general that don't realize that that's a need and they just keep throwing coaches at this stuff,
Yeah.
hoping something works or they survive,
Yeah.
are doing our young people a real big disservice.
Mhm.
They really are. It's a profession, it's a job. It requires an immense amount of knowledge and strategy and organization, and it is equal, if not more, coaching and teaching than any classroom setting you can
Yeah.
envision. So
I agree
I
with
think
that.
part of it is just for me liking my putting aside my inherent desire to call people dumb or to bash something or just be a little bit on the cruel side is really like doesn't come from a place where I'm just mean and vindictive and think everybody sucks. It's no, like there's a need and you're not providing it.
Yeah.
And that's really all we're after is to give people a better option
Yeah.
because it's important to people. It's important to us, not on an eternal, you know, viewpoint because none of this really matters.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
we might as well be about doing our best while we're here. Where the future goes, we'll see. It's a hard business to be in. Most people would have already failed by now. If you look at stats, so we've
Yeah.
overcome some things, but also there's so much more we can offer. And, finding the right space to, you know, train at an elite level till we've had conversations about, well, let's start our own school and let's do everything at an elite level and teach kids the things they actually need to know, not only where the world is from a job standpoint, but where the
Hmm.
world's going from life skills. And I
Exactly.
need to know how to do things maybe 2 generations ago
That's right.
did because if unless you're blind to the happenings of society today, it's not going the right way. And our kids are um I
Pay
will
the
say this
price
as
for it.
lovingly as ever, and I say this about my own kids. We're dumber than ever
Yeah.
in
With
just
more,
how to do life,
with more
with
information.
more information. So tell me there's not a need for something better.
Oh yeah. Of course.
I mean, private schools in general can be a better option, but they're very their lure, their draw historically has been academics,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's great if that's what your family prioritizes over everything else. Um, I'm living in a world where I don't necessarily see the idea of, well, you need to go to college to get a good job to get this. The way I was brought up, like that was
Yeah.
the path. Like
Yeah.
that was a successful path, right? You go to college, you get a degree.
Yeah.
Um, that's not the reality, the way I view the
Well, it's
world.
not in the 21st century now.
And you might need to go get some training for a skill,
Yeah.
but I mean, I think every kid needs to be able to understand some basics and read really well and communicate really well. But I also think kids need to learn how to grow their own food, and kids need to learn how to shoot a gun. I'm
Oh,
sorry, like they do, like
you're
to
right.
hunt for. I mean, depending on where you fall on the lines of this mess of the world, like you might need to learn some skills that only grandpa used to know, or grandma used to know, and you learn how to can food, learn how to.
That's right.
I think that's a class. It's like a survival skills
Yep.
class.
Hmm.
Like you got to be really, really blind to not see that there might be some things coming in our world that require us to be more self-sufficient,
Yeah.
right?
I think that speaks well to what you're talking about, even with the training. Is that there are some training models that allow students to get better, athletes to get better. But then there are some training models that allow them to get better in athletics and also in life.
Mhm,
And I think that a lot of what we see now is mostly just an assembly line,
mhm,
get them in, get them out. All right, you train today. That's it.
yeah,
Instead of addressing actually what they need. Um, and it's funny. I came up under a really good coach in Curtis Fry, University of South Carolina, and he used to make us. We would train, but he used to make us come in and actually write out workouts
mhm,
for a solid 3 months for a 100-meter sprinter or 200 or 400-meter sprinter. And we had to actually sit there based on the knowledge, how he taught us, how he coached us, write out a plan for an athlete that's not just having them come on a Monday and sprint, and
mhm,
Tuesday run speed endurance or whatever.
yeah,
We had to write out a plan to actually progress the athlete along.
mhm,
So we knew exactly when that athlete was going to peak,
yeah,
when we wanted them to run their best. And that's how I learned that this thing is more detailed than just getting out there, just running,
yeah,
just working out.
yeah,
You have to actually know what every individual athlete needs.
yeah,
And everybody's not in the same place.
right, right.
So,
And I think that's a battle for me, and I think we do a really good job with our young kids.
Mhm.
I think we have really good foundational stuff that all of them need
Yeah.
because you
Yeah,
can't
it
move
is.
to the advanced things because first and foremost, it's dangerous.
Yep.
You can get kids hurt.
Mhm.
It's very easy if you have a good coaching eye to see, oh, well, Johnny can hit a baseball over the fence, but he can't stand on one leg,
Can't
right?
get to the
So,
base.
so he's very skilled in that specific area,
Yeah.
but when's he going to break down?
Yep.
When's he going to break down physically? And I think what my message is like, we're here to feed those sports. Like
Mhm.
we are the main course,
Mhm.
not the sexy course.
That's right.
The sport is never gonna we're never gonna compare to that.
Yeah.
And we see that actively when our kids get too busy and they need to take a break.
Mhm.
And professionally, that's the worst thing you can do
Mhm.
is stop training because you're decided to sign up for another sport and another thing.
Yeah.
So that's a
Yeah.
whole tangent I'm gonna get on, and God bless you. We love you all that are on a pause right now. But like the philosophy is misconstrued.
Yeah.
And it's not because you don't care. It's actually because you care a whole lot about your kid.
Yeah.
And you don't want them to miss out on things and they have cool interactions with their friends and we're all for that, but at the same time the bigger picture is most of them aren't going to get to where you think they're going to go
Yep.
because that's a very thin funnel at the top of
Mhm.
high performance. We want to be here for that journey and help them along, and we certainly give them a better chance to get their goals and reach their goals. um Fully believe that's what we do, and our young kids need a foundation. A lot of it's because our society is not we don't create good movers anymore.
No.
Kids don't crawl, they don't roll, they don't jump off of buildings, and, we're
Yep.
it call me old or whatever, but, like, I feel like my generation-ish was one of the last ones that was trying to figure out if, if we jump off this right part of the garage, can I land on that tree branch?
Exactly.
Without the thought of, "Well, what if I don't?" It's a long way to the ground, Or, and I think I miss that for kids,
Well, and you
you
think
know?
about it, we used to fall and scrape ourselves, get right back up. Okay, well, let me do it this way now because
Yeah,
that way didn't work. These kids don't even try now. We get to the point now, kids, well, I can't do that.
yeah,
How do you know you never tried before?
right. Well,
But
what if? What if? What I get hurt? Yeah, I mean, just so understand, I think, like, and this is like to the public, understand we're trying to almost reverse engineer
mhm,
deficiencies
mhm,
that society is causing. It's not your fault as parents, doesn't make you bad parents. It doesn't make, because I'm guilty of a lot of the same things that I complain about in my own house,
mhm.
right? I mean, there's things that I allow to
Yeah,
happen that I don't agree with
yeah,
philosophically, but we're also dang busy that if you just let it slide.
yeah,
And but at the end of the day, like our young kids need to learn how to move and be strong and be able to,
yeah.
if you're gonna ask them to play 3 sports in a season or never stop year round, which is our culture, an honest question, how do you expect their bodies to hold up to that if they're not properly trained to do so? So there
Exactly.
has to be a give and take here.
Yeah,
And like we have great families, we have a great loyal clientele and people that appreciate us and kids that want to come to our facility. That's one of the biggest compliments we get
yeah,
is my kid hates to miss,
yeah,
or they don't, they don't dread coming, you
yeah,
know.
exactly.
So there's some sort of environment that we've stumbled on that is culturally a place where it doesn't feel like practice. It doesn't feel
Mhm.
like I have to go here. Now, does everybody want to come in full energy every day? No, just like we don't as trainers. We don't like,
Yep.
we got to suck it up today. I don't really feel this. All that to be said, like, there's better out there, and we're just trying to communicate that
Mhm.
there's some things that are severely lacking. And then you get to our higher end athletes, and what you're talking about is, okay, how do we get them to their goals?
Mhm.
And that has to become more privatized.
Yeah.
It has to become more selective where we have to be a little bit unapologetic of like, well, we need to call, and this is coming down the pike as a heads up for everybody.
Mhm.
Like, we're gonna be probably sorting our groups out a little differently. Okay. This is more of our elite group. And there might be 4 kids in there.
Yep.
I've become a little bit guilty of teaching to the bottom of the class, meaning like some of our higher end kids aren't necessarily being pushed like they could
Mhm.
be in the ways that we train. But then there's that tier that's right below them that still needs almost that. And then these kids could all be the same age.
Mhm.
Biological age and training age, that's something you
It's
learn in your
totally
first
different. Yeah.
textbook. You know, if you're studying this, it's like, well, just because
Yeah.
they're 14 and they've been training for 6 years, or they're 14 and they've been training for 6 months, it's not the same kid.
That's right.
So we have to probably just make some people angry when their kid doesn't make the elite group for a while,
Mhm.
and just understand we're trying to serve them responsibly and the best for what they need,
Exactly.
right? If they're a C teamer, let's get to B team.
Yep.
If they're a B teamer, let's get to A team. If they're A teamer, let's get them to be the next level,
Mhm.
on their stuff. And you want to chase scholarships and all that fun stuff. That's great. I don't see it that way from a developmental standpoint. It's more about confidence
Mhm.
and movement, and I can do this, and this doesn't hurt anymore or as bad because I'm training a different way than just all the constant pounding I'm getting um, outside the world from whatever sports that I'm in and the overtraining. That's the thing. Our kids are overtrained
Mhm.
in a lot of ways, but they're severely undertrained in the other ways.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, part of the magic of what we do is we're not going after the overtrained stuff. You know, a lot of our kids in our area are getting run into the ground. Everybody's got shin splints. Everybody's got
Mhm.
patellar knee pain and
Yeah.
all these things. And we're just, okay, well, we're taking our Advil every day before practice, and we're icing and we're doing all these things. And I'm like, it's not going to help.
Nope.
It's
Mm.
not going to help. Your deficiencies are caused by what you're doing, and you're trying to put a band-aid on a much deeper problem.
Mhm.
And then guess what happens when you are 9 and you're already feeling these things?
Mm.
When you're 14, it's going to be exacerbated tenfold to the
Oh.
point where you're going to probably have to shut something down or quit something.
Yep.
Because you're not healthy, you can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And I think sadly most of our kids are under this pressure that well, if I sit out, or if I tell coach I'm sore, if I tell coach I have a strained hamstring, or if I tell coach this hurts and I'm not trying to escape it, it just really does bother me and affect me right now. Well, I'm going to be chastised, and I'm going to be have opportunities taken from me, and that stuff really gets under my skin because that is
Yeah.
happening. It is happening
It
all
it
over,
is.
and
It
it's not
is.
a theory. It's not a I've seen it with my own family. I've had coaches say specific things dozens of times to kids and gets reported back to me, well, I can't sit out or else.
That's crazy.
So when you run a fear-based athletic program,
Yeah.
kids are afraid
Yeah.
to express themselves and be
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah.
And you combine that with a lack of knowledge and
Mhm.
education, and well, we've done it this way for 40 years. So, and go look at our trophy case. Well,
Yeah.
your trophy case is because you get good obedient kids.
Yeah.
It's not your methodology. It's in
Yeah.
spite of your methodology.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And you're so right about that. It's one of the things I teach the kids all the time. Your communication about issues that's happening with you. Don't ever feel. I always try to put my kids in an environment where mistakes are okay
Yeah.
as long as the effort is there.
Yep.
The only way you would ever get any type of negative feedback is if the effort wasn't there.
Hmm.
But if you tell me my calf is tight and hurting on the right side, and I want you to be able to communicate because that tells me now that I need to make maybe it's just a little alteration in the workout
Yeah.
so that we can get through it, benefit, and not put ourselves in a position to get a chronic injury.
Hmm.
So,
And
so
I mean, if any of that even sounds appealing, and I know there might be 5 people that watch that, but a year later from now, there or watch this, there might be 100,000 people that view this.
mhm,
And my message to the public is, if this resonates to you, then that's all we're talking about. You
Yeah.
know, if your kid's been told one of these things, well, you need to suck it up or you need to do this. And we're the last people that are anti-tough. Like
Yeah.
we're not
Yeah.
trying to be soft on our
Yeah.
families and our own kids and our own households. Um, we just see it as a lens where like your athlete should have a voice
Well, of
and it
course.
shouldn't be offensive
Of
to
course.
as a grown adult if a kid is genuinely concerned about it right
Yeah.
now. And I think a lot of parents are starting to stand up to that. But just take, you know, like theorize with me, like what if there was just an opportunity where you sent your kids somewhere every day that you knew they were going to be heard and seen and taken care of?
Mm.
Not nobody's perfect, but like
Yeah.
that's all we really want for our kids. And especially we're talking in the realm of athletics and performance is like, well, we want to be optimized. We want our kids to have the best chance they can, and hopefully it's for them and not your own glory. But like, um, you know, but like, is that a place that you would want to send your kid to? And I look at that as far as like every day, all day long, right? Is
Yeah.
that's where all these hybrid school models are flourishing because people are looking.
Yes.
There's clearly a need for this. You
Yes, it
know, you
is.
have online school options where you're on school for a couple hours a day and then you go train. You know, and
Yes.
if you're serious in the world of like gymnastics and dance and stuff, you're probably
Mhm.
already homeschooling
Mhm.
because they
That's right.
want you at the gym 4 hours a day. And I have my thoughts on that, of the overkill nature of that as well. But I say this just to be like, there's clearly a need out there. And I
Yeah.
think that's where you and I are aligned. It's like, how do we provide that?
Yeah.
Because it's not, it's awesome to think about and already know inherently you can provide that.
Mhm.
But logistically, where's the
Yeah.
path,
Yeah.
right? Where's the
Yeah.
path to that? Because if we could, we would, or
Yeah.
when we can, we will,
We will.
right? Right? Like one of those things.
I like that one.
I would take that one. A little more glass half full look at it. So,
But yeah, but and I believe we'll get there. I believe that some others will hear this and understand where we're going at, and I think over time God will provide um, that place, and He always has. He's provided up until this time,
mhm,
even when it seemed like things wasn't going to work out right.
mhm.
He's somehow or another made a way for us. So, but I don't know. We got to continue this. We'll probably be doing this more often. And I don't know if I shared that with you, but I'm grafting you in so that we can start doing more of these
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
think there's needed. And
Well, we've got a lot to say, and we have a lot of conversations with people in our own networking community, which we admitted this, and to some degree before we press record was like we're not really talking to the masses.
no,
We feel like it's a message maybe for the masses because there's so much uneducation, people in this space, but just like I don't know how to do your job professionally, so I would not come to your job and tell you how to do it.
exactly. Yeah,
It works the same way.
yeah.
You know, I think the messages for, you know, that much lower percentage of people that will act on it, right?
Yeah,
Because you can disagree with anything we've said. That's your prerogative in the last, 30 or 40 minutes here. But I'll stand on it.
yeah.
I'll stand on it. And if it's not for you, great.
That's right.
If you don't resonate with this, that's fine because you're probably not going to fit in our model anyway.
That's right.
Um, but I think there's enough people out there that are starving for something. Just give me something better. Give me a reason to leave this mess I'm in.
Yeah, yeah,
But they don't see a way out. So they're stuck and they're trapped, right? Or I would go to this school, but it's $20,000 a year
yeah,
and I can't swing that because we got 4 kids, that
yeah.
kind of thing. And that's a lot of the reality I've lived in my own household. Well, this is our options because this is what we can swing,
Yeah.
right? But I do think there's enough out there to provide a quality product that, could get even dabble into that academy environment. Like
Mhm.
you can use all the tag words and be we're elite this and elite that, and everybody calls their travel club elite something, but it's like how do we communicate to people that like this could really be an option where
Yeah.
you don't feel like you're wasting your kid's day 7 hours in a desk learning some futile things, some
Yep.
valuable things, who's teaching, what's the character of the people working with your kids. We've already seen a lot of evidence to the contrary in the last year where we live. So, I mean, tell me there's not a desire for something better. And I think that's
Whole
what
different podcast.
fuels me, right? That's what fuels me is like, but it's exhausting too because
Yeah.
I just want to scream this from the rooftops and call out the ignorance, and that's not the way to get people to come to you, right?
Yeah.
It's like, so part of this is like show the voice behind the face and the message behind and the meaning behind the message, I guess.
Yeah.
And like, hey, we're if the Lord allows it and the Lord deems it and blesses it, then you could have a better option. You could have someplace to go. And I think we get so caught up in what everybody else thinks,
Hmm.
what everybody else we've been conditioned to see as, well, this is the way we've always done it. And I mean, just basic society stuff. Oh, you go to school, you learn this, you learn that, you do that. I'm like, but why? I don't think we
Yeah.
stop enough to ask, is this really the right way?
Yeah.
You know, when I was coming up, like if you were a homeschool kid, you were weird. You
Yeah.
were like socially awkward or you didn't fit in
Yeah.
that setting. And now I look at the people in the homeschool communities and I'm like, yo, are doing it a lot better than we are,
Hmm. Yep.
you know? And then there's just evidence of that in society. So, I mean, if the need presents itself and, people are really wanting this, then I think those doors will open for us to provide it,
Yep.
right?
Yes,
So
sir.
that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah. And guys, if you want to be involved, get your children involved, or you want to get involved with 289, there's an adult piece to this too. This is
Mhm,
not just about athlete. This is
mhm,
about adults who are just trying to have a better um, plan in their lifestyle to get themselves back in shape, get past some old broken down knees and backs, things
mhm.
like that. But there's a plan. So I want you guys to make sure that you go check us out. Um, 289 Sports Performance. We're at 5395. Is that Smiley
It's
or
Smiley.
Smiley?
It's
Smiley Road.
yeah.
And that's building 4. And that's here in Salina, Texas. And the zip is 75009. Please come out, check us out. Come out. We even have a planet there where you can do evaluations and get it out where we can actually assess your child, even assess you, to kind of see where you are and to see where you need to go. So it's a wonderful place to be. It's very family oriented. Your children will be exposed to things that, and I often say this, one of the things that caught my attention about the gym was it exposes your children to stuff that we used to do before video games and things like that. We used to go outside, run, climb trees, jump off the house, all those things that made us athletic, that gave us an edge. Nowadays, I see a lot of smartphones and tablets and stuff, and kids are not out. Kids can't even, they have no flexibility now. When I was in high school, I could actually do a split,
Mhm.
and I see that as a problem. But this program addresses those things from your kids to the smallest to the oldest and even adults. So please come out and is there anything you want to say
No,
to
I
the
mean, you hit that well. It's like we do operate differently, and it's one thing to say it, and I don't think to a date we've had one person leave us because they're unsatisfied with how we do things. Usually something happens in life or busyness or, normal life circumstances. But I think, you know, and just understand, when we're there's a lot more to come. It
Mhm.
just, there's logistics of running a business and, if when our place becomes overflowing, we'll adapt
Yep.
and address that, when we want to meet those needs and I, as a business owner, all I do is walk into my gym and see what I don't have. So
Mhm.
when I say that to say there's a constant motivation for me to continue to provide more value, more high quality, you know, um, experiences. Like we don't want you to have to go anywhere else for your treatment, for your rehab, your recovery, all those things. And we can hit that, on a different episode. Like, what do we actually offer? Because I think that's part of it too. Like,
Hmm.
there's not enough knowledge out there about, okay, cool, you can make my kid faster and stronger, whatever,
Yeah.
more agile. Yeah, that's kind of the bare bones, honestly, of what we can do, and how we can help people of all ages. So more to that. Yeah, more to come, I think, on that is just, hey, what are our offerings and our services, and where else could we take this thing if more people knew about what we did? And that's exciting, I think, for me, is because there's so much that we haven't even addressed yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a kind of our intro episode.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about a little bit more. You guys tune in because we want to talk to you about Square One. It's just so many things that is offered at 289 Sports Performance, and you guys will be. And what's the other thing that you do? Um, you got Square One.
Just our warm up. It's the RPR stuff.
Yep.
Shoot, we've got doctors networks for peptides, for therapies, for
Yep.
all kinds of overall health things, and that's more for the adult, obviously, side of things. But it's just different and different. It's hard to explain the difference because it gets very scientific or very
Hmm.
professional, where we lose the general population when you talk about this stuff. But also, it's like, how are people going to know about it if you don't talk about it?
That's right.
So that's where we're at. I'm bad at marketing. I'm good on the floor. I'm good, with what I'm good at. And so this is just us trying to communicate, hey, what we're about and what we offer. And if it's not for you, that's great. We believe in what we're doing, and we really believe in what we're going to be doing
Yeah.
to add more things, right? Just trying to meet the need that resonates with a lot of people that we have side conversations with, and they're either with us or wish they had a better option,
Yeah.
but they feel stuck. So we're trying to give you a way out of that, um, to make the most out of the years and the experience that you have here for your kids to be as good as they can be, right? Knowing that most of them aren't going to go on to college, and even fewer are going to go off to be, professional in sports, and even that's going to be a very short span of their life. But
That's right.
teach how to move, teach how to be more healthy, and I guess for me, it's like every day is should be a blessing, and we should get the best experience we can. So that's what we're trying to provide, um, our constituents, our clients, and our community. So
Yeah, excellent. So, guys, make sure you go 289sportsperformance.com is the website. Go on and check out what we're doing, and we look forward to seeing you guys. And again, stay tuned. Keep updated with us for future podcasts and broadcasts. So, thank you guys for joining us.
God bless.